Hi, everybody. This is John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on August the 13th in the year of our Lord 2025, and I've got some great information for you. First, I'm going to apologize for Rumble. Last night, my live stream was kind of screwed up. I had to switch to my backup software, OBS Studio, Onboard Studio. I believe that's what the OBS stands for. And I really don't like using that because it seems like that the audio that comes through kind of like skips, and I don't know why. I don't, maybe I need like a gaming computer or something for that to function correctly. But let me click over here. This is an email. I sent an email to them explaining what was happening when I set it up in Rumble Studio and get ready to play. There's a little green go button that I click on and it starts the process. But last night I clicked the go button and it kind of blinked and then nothing happened. I clicked it again. I even rebooted my computer. I signed out of Rumble and signed back in. But at any rate, I sent him an email asking what the problem was because I don't have any violations and I had not received any notification, and they replied back to me and says, "Hey, John, we're working on this issue. It's nothing related to your account, so don't worry." Well, I put out a test video earlier this afternoon to see if Rumble Studio was working, and yes, I kind of explained the same situation in that, but Rumble has its issues. I'll give you that. But Rumble is a platform that is constantly being trying to hacked into, and sometimes the hackers are successful and they get in and screw things up. This isn't the first time that Rumble has had issues, uh, and it probably won't be the last. But this platform is a platform that I can share information out to people, and they don't have a problem with it. Their free speech guidelines are pretty lenient. Now, I live stream when I in Rumble, and I can live stream to X. I can live stream to locals, to Twitch, to Facebook, um, and to YouTube. Now, sometimes the videos that I put out, there's information in there that Facebook doesn't like, and so they uh, remove my video. And sometimes there's information in there that YouTube doesn't like, and they remove my video. But I've never had a video removed uh, from Rumble in a long, long time. I think somebody uh, filed a complaint against me, and Rumble removed a video, but that wasn't a big issue there. So I'm sticking with Rumble simply because it's it has a lot of features that you can't get with other streaming software. Okay. Now, I'm up here tonight. My son, my 6-year-old, he likes to come up here and hang out with me when I do my videos, and he's got a little tickle in his throat. You might hear him coughing in the background, but if you'll forgive me of that, there we go. Okay, let's get into this. I want to go ahead and click over here, Murtech on Rumble. And this is the video that you're watching right now, my live stream, episode 1653. Let me get into this. Okay, and pause this, share it, or close that down, and come in and click the show more button, expand the description box out. All right, we're going to start off with X account on U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro. And then we got some information from Benny Johnson and Devory Darkins and Vince Dow. But before we get into that, I do have some shout outs from Yvette Tito 3. It's just started following my channel. And Poe Connor just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Alrighty? Okay, Big John Perez commented on my episode 1652. Jeff B08757 commented on my extra 437A. So I want to go ahead and give a thumbs up to this. See how easy this is? Now watch. Boom. There it is. And, you know, it didn't hurt a bit. Actually, it felt kind of nice. Okay, let's see what Attorney Jean Pirro has to say on displays examples of teenage victims shot and killed in D.C. earlier this year. That's amazing to me that Donald Trump wants to try to curb the violence and crime in Washington, D.C., and the Democrats are going nuts. But let's take a listen to what Attorney Jean has to say. Alrighty. Let me...
Individuals who were shot and killed. Here are the individuals who were shot and killed under the age of 20, all teenagers in 2025. And the number here is 16. Again, all members of the minority community here. I don't know how many of these cases have been solved, but what I can tell you is, again, it's guns on the streets. It's individuals who are not concerned about accountability, who don't have any reason to fear law enforcement. I am here today to tell you that on behalf of all of these victims, all of these families, that they're going to be accountable, that we are going to make a difference, and that we are going to make sure that law enforcement is focused on these innocent, now silent victims of crime in the district.
Okay, there you have it. You know, it's amazing. The Democrats are going nuts because Donald Trump is trying to, like I said, slow down the crime in Washington, D.C. Is that so horrible? Well, I guess it is for a Democrat because, you know, Democrat have no rules. You know, burn down a city. Well, it's a mostly peaceful protest. Unfreaking believable. All right. That was just a short little ditty there that I wanted to share with you, but good information on what's going on and how the Democrats are just like crazy about it. Benny Johnson has some more information. I just asked Trump's press secretary about big balls on live TV. Okay, Benny, let's see what that's all about. Let me get it back to the beginning for you.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. We just got back from the White House here at the airport right now, where we were able to ask a question at the press briefing. It was a great honor. We also were able to do our show from inside of the fake Joe Biden White House from the fake little Resolute desk that he had there. It was a blast. Anyway, the live stream went great, and then we moved on over to the White House press briefing room, where you can see here, look at the faces on the corporate media reporters. Look at the audible disgust and hideous anger and hissing that when they send you out there, it's like a masked singer like thing where they don't know who the new media seat is. And I went walking out there and the entire room groans. It's like, it's really funny. Anyway, the point is that we were able to do two things, and we were able to ask two questions, and I wanted to spend them wisely, and I want to spend them on something that obviously means something to me. And what President Trump has done in Washington, D.C. to take over the city of Washington, D.C. is, I think, one of the most important acts ever taken by a U.S. president. The reason why is that this is our nation's capital, and it shouldn't be a place where you go to die. Everybody should have a right, actually, a birthright to move here and live here and be safe here. And that is what President Trump is restoring. And so I gave a little anecdotal, I hate doing this, but I gave a little anecdotal story about what my experience was like here, and then called all the reporters in the room liars and saying, like, you're a liar if you're saying that DC is somehow safe or some wonderful place to live in. And then this administration, thank you, because, well, all Americans should have a right to go to their capital city, a city that their forefathers built, and enjoy it in safety and security. And so here's that question.
Let's get started. And as always, we'll start with our new media seat. who is our podcast host today, Benny Johnson. Benny, why don't you kick us off, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Caroline. As a DC resident of 15 years, I lived on Capitol Hill. I witnessed so many muggings and so much theft. I lost track. I was carjacked. I have murders on my Ring camera and mass shootings. I witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20, and my house was set ablaze in an arson with my infant child inside. And so to any reporter that says and lies that DC is a safe place to live and work, let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe, because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to save their infant child. And so thank you for your work on securing the city. My question to you is this. Nancy Pelosi has attacked the president for deploying the National Guard to the city, saying that it is to cover for his incompetence. Hillary Clinton has also attacked the president for securing the city of Washington, D.C. I'd like to get your response to Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton.
Sure. Well, first of all, Benny, I'm so sorry that happened to you and your family. There have been, unfortunately, far too many victims of crime in this city, and I know the majority of residents in the District of Columbia agree with you. In fact, a new poll from the Washington Post I was reading this morning, this was released in May of 2024. So it's quite funny how many of you in the media agreed with what the president was saying yesterday, but now once the president says it, many of you are disagreeing with him. But this poll released by the Washington Post found that 65% of district residents think crime is an extremely serious or a very serious problem. And this was up from 56% last year. So the concern that you share with so many other residents in the District of Columbia is real. And that's why this president is taking action to address it. To get to the heart of your question, I think it's despicable that Democrats cannot agree that we need more law and order in a city that has been ravaged by violence, crime, murders, property theft. This should be a winning issue for all Americans. I don't understand. It's just anything President Trump does, the Democrats want to disagree with. I think the president would love to work with Democrats on this issue to bring law and order to America's cities, but unfortunately they have failed. And that's why he's taken this historic action to federalize the National Guard. And as you're seeing from last night's numbers, we already have seen success. We are removing violent offenders, we are arresting criminals, and we are removing drugs and firearms off of the streets of the city to make it safer for all of its residents.
So that was the serious part of the question, and I'm glad that, well, Caroline brought the receipts. Then comes to the very important part of the question, which is, will the Presidential Medal of Freedom be given to Big Balls? Big Balls is a Doge staffer who is a hero. The reason why he's a hero is because Big Balls, and why he deserves this Medal of Freedom in particular, is because he saved a woman from being mugged by 7 thugs in Washington, D.C. He saved her life. He ended up being bloodied and left for dead in the streets. And he didn't have to do that. He could have just walked away. Big Balls is a hero, and he deserves the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So I asked about it. Here we go. Just a very quick follow-up to that. Given the heroic actions of a member of this administration just a few blocks from this building, will the president consider giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls?
I haven't spoken to him about that, but perhaps it's something he would consider. I'll ask him and get back to you, Benny. Thanks for being here. Gabe.
Well, this is it's made a lot of news. We're trending now. It's a really exciting day, and it was an honor to be at the White House and to be able to deliver for the American people. I mean, this is obviously something that is very important to our future of our country. It's something that's very important to the ability to run a country and a nation. What does it say about Western civilization if the seat of Western civilization is in total collapse and decline and is a crime-ridden hellscape? It's very bad. And so, anyway, thank you. Hope we made you proud as the show. And if you need further update on Big Balls, well, we got it right here for you. Don't worry, buddy. We're pulling for you. It's your boy Benny. I got a flight to catch. See you. Thanks for tuning in.
Fox News alert. The infamous Doge Lieutenant Big Balls was just jumped in D.C. by up to a dozen gang members. Viewer warning, the image we're about to show you is bloody. Elon Musk says Edward Korestein, known as Big Balls, was assaulted after trying to stop a gang from assaulting a woman in her car. The woman's now safe, but Korestein is left with a concussion. The president reacted earlier today. Watch.
Somebody from Doge was very badly hurt last night. You saw that. A young man who was beat up by a bunch of thugs in D.C. And either they're going to straighten their act out in the terms of government and in terms of protection, or we're going to have to federalize and run it the way it's supposed to be run.
Random attacks and robberies, nothing new in D.C. We've seen elected officials, government employees, even Biden's granddaughter become victims of the Capitol. If they don't secure the city, Trump will.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause that and show you that this video does come from Benny Johnson. I am following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. I want to take a pause here and share a word from one of our sponsors that Rumble has given us.
Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units.
You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash.
All single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic, a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler.
$170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is.
Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone.
Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does.
All right, there you have it, folks. Good information. All right, let me scroll down here and see what we've got with Devory Darkins. FBI drops bombshell report on Adam Schiff as Pelosi gets rocked by police chief. Okay, let's see what Devory has to say here.
This is about Trump wanting to do a power grab. This is about Trump's obsession with the military. You can pretend it's about. You think it's because Trump cares about crime in D.C. Really? Because I remember Donald Trump on January the 6th, 2021, not giving
Mehdi, oh come on, now verb January 6th. Okay, Mehdi, no, Mehdi, come on.
Let me finish my point. This is a short segment.
I know you said that. 150 police officers got hurt.
Hold on. You gave Bill O'Reilly a lot of time. Let me give an answer. I'm here for much shorter time. Let me speak. On January 6, 2021, you may want to move on for it. We all watched police officers in D.C. being attacked by a Trump-supporting mob. 150 injured, 600 people.
Mehdi, you're going to sit here. We know the statistics of January 6th. Mehdi, you're going to sit here. Mehdi, you're going to sit here. Mehdi, you're going to sit here and say if Trump cures cancer, then January 6th was terrible. Okay, the fact of the matter is you can't have an argument. You can't have an argument about what's happening on the streets of D.C. without going back to January 6th.
Because it's about
you won't talk about actually the crime.
Donald Trump, Leland. But Leland's
no, it's not. It's about how to have people be safe.
Clearly, that's going nowhere because that is the argument surrounding what President Trump has decided to do, which was yesterday, federalize D.C. in an effort to crack down on crime. Part of that is deploying the National Guard troops. Now, the left is crying about this because they say he failed to do it on January 6th. So what we're going to do is use ground news to dive into that and see what the truth really is. Now, what's fascinating is as soon as President Trump announced this, Nancy Pelosi came out and criticized the president. Well, she made a mistake because she got exposed by the former ex-Capitol Police chief in D.C. Now, if you guys want to follow along, please go to ground.news/Devory. We love using this tool to see the full picture so we can think for ourselves. And one way you're able to do that with Ground News is when you click on a story like this one, it'll tell you who's actually talking about it. As you guys can see, 86% of right-leaning sources are discussing this story, which means what? The left doesn't want to talk about it because they know if they did, it would end their argument. Now, let's go back to this exchange and we'll get to what Nancy Pelosi had to say. Take a look.
If he cared about crime in DC, why did he pardon 600 people who assaulted police officers? You can't come and make this emotional
come on, man. You can't. You're talking about completely different things.
You don't actually care about crime then.
You cannot talk about this. There's completely different things going on.
Why?
What do you mean I care about crime or I don't?
Where was the National Guard? Where was the National Guard on January 6th, 2021
come on. You can't do no. This is silly.
Day.
This is absolutely silly, Matty. You can't do this.
Why?
No, because
the National Guard, Donald Trump offered to call up the National Guard, and Pelosi turned it down. Okay? That's the truth. These lying butt munches, liberals, they don't care. They don't care about anything except their power, their democracy. We do what you say, you do what we say, and that's the final word. That is their democracy. If you stray away from what they order, then you're destroying their democracy.
It has nothing to do with what's happening or what the arguments are right now. Okay, and you can't. No, it has nothing to do with it.
Crime matters in DC. The victims of crime matter in DC. What about the cops in DC? And I'm
the only person who died on January 6th was a Trump supporter, and you can't talk about what's happening on the streets right now.
Let me know when you want me to speak.
No, you can't talk about any. You cannot talk about this without talking about January 6th or anything else. You won't have an argument on the merits. Mehdi, thank you as always. We first wrote about this in War Notes.
Yeah, so he had to cut it short because he's arguing with someone who's an idiot or a fool. And if you're doing that, you look like one too. And I believe that is the saying. And guys, I'm showing you guys ground news regarding this story because this is called blind spot. We all are victims of our own blind spots. And in the media, they exist. That means only one side wants to talk about how Nancy Pelosi was really at fault for why National Guard troops were not deployed during January 6th. But only right-leaning sources will talk about it. Left-leaning sources, they don't want to give it any energy. Doesn't that tell you what's really going on here? The whole purpose is for us to think for ourselves. That's why I don't spend any time trying to convince anyone of anything, especially if they don't want to listen. That's an automatic argument. So if you want to use this tool for yourself, all you have to
this is accountability. We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
There's not a question of how they had, but they don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having
responsibility because you refused.
Okay, so that was a clip of her during January 6th.
That would have spoiled their whole narrative there. If the National Guard came in and prevented the Capitol Police from allowing people to go into the Capitol, then there wouldn't have been a problem. Okay? But no, they wanted a problem. They wanted the whole thing disrupted because they knew they cheated, fraud with that election in 2020. They knew it. I knew it. I had seen reports, and I shared reports on my videos about the fraudulence that took place during the election in 2020. And I mean, like 150 police officers killed, injured. There were no police officers killed on that day. I don't know, there might have been some police officers that were injured when they attacked the people that were trying to protest the stolen election. All right, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. This just really gets under my skin when these Democrats, deep state, just lie with a straight face like this.
Being recorded saying that it was her fault. The National Guard troops should have been there. She should have made sure it was done. And I don't know how you dispute that. But hey, she still decided to post this yesterday. Donald Trump delayed deploying the National Guard on January 6th when our Capitol was under violent attack and lives were at stake. Now he's activating the DC Guard to distract from his incompetent mishandling of tariffs, healthcare, education, and immigration, just to name a few blunders. Well, unfortunately for her, as we talked about, the former DC police chief said this, ma'am, it's long past time to be honest with the American people. On January 3rd, I requested the National Guard assistance, but your sergeant at arms denied it. Under federal law, I was prohibited from calling them in without specific approval. That same day, Carol Corbin at the Pentagon offered National Guard support, but I was forced to decline because I lacked the legal authority. On January 6th, while the Capitol was under attack, and despite my repeated calls, the Sergeant at Arms again denied my urgent request for over 70 agonizing minutes, running it up the chain for your approval. When I needed assistance, it was denied.
I cannot tell you the number of times someone has asked me, where were you? Where was the National Guard? Or how can you call yourselves Capitol Guardians? There's no easy response to those questions, and the truth is, we were there. And we were ready. We just weren't authorized to respond, and that is difficult to explain.
All right, so that was the Command Sergeant Major at the time who was in charge of the DC National Guard. And yes, these clips are kind of throwbacks, and we're kind of talking about the past here. But the whole point to start off this story is to continue to expose the lies, by the way, to think for ourselves, don't eat up the propaganda, which is number 3. And number 4, for the people who maybe you don't support Trump as much, right? Maybe you're not a Trump supporter, and maybe you believe these type of lies that come from people like Nancy Pelosi. I just laid it all out for you. They are willing to lie up and down in order to undermine the president of the United States. And the only people who truly get hurt in the process are American citizens. All right, and now we move to our next story, which is truly a bombshell. So FBI Director Kash Patel has declassified documents proving that Adam Schiff purposely leaked classified information in an effort to undermine President Trump during his first term. Listen to this from John Solomon on Fox News. Take a look.
New developments as the Russia hoax continues to unravel. According to our friend John Solomon, and a new report tonight just out, and he will join us in just a moment, a Democrat whistleblower repeatedly was warning the FBI beginning in 2017 that the congenital liar Adam Schiff had authorized leaking classified information to smear President Trump, which, by the way, could be a violation of the Espionage Act.
Listen, this whistleblower literally sat in a meeting, he tells the FBI, where Adam Schiff authorized the leaking of classified secrets to dirty up Donald Trump and to try to build towards either a select committee in Congress or a special prosecutor. This whistleblower was a career intelligence officer. He had worked for the House Intelligence Committee, Democrat staff for a dozen years when he came forward to the FBI. He gave 4 interviews. He gave very specific information to the FBI, and nothing happened. Why? Because the Justice Department simply decided to take a pass. How many times have we sat around in the last decade and heard, we're going to get to the bottom of that classified leak, and then a few months later, we couldn't get to the bottom of that classified leak. In the case of Adam Schiff, they got to the bottom of some classified leaks.
Yep, they are getting to the bottom of it. And what's interesting is they released the actual statement from the whistleblower, meaning the FBI declassified the actual document itself, which is right here on the screen, and I'll read it to you. When working in this capacity, whistleblower was called to an all-staff meeting by Schiff. In this meeting, Schiff stated the group would leak classified information which was derogatory to President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Schiff stated the information would be used to indict President Trump. Whistleblower stated this would be illegal, and upon hearing his concerns, unnamed members of the meeting reassured whistleblower that they would not be caught leaking classified information. Well, there you have it. I mean, that's black and white, ladies and gentlemen. So you're telling me we had a member of Congress literally leak classified information to attack the sitting president of the United States. My only question at this point, how long is it going to take Pam Bondi to truly hold Adam Schiff accountable?
Wasn't it a hearsay, so-called whistleblower that led to the entire Ukrainian impeachment? Just refreshing my memory.
Yeah, exactly. And it turns out that what he described in the call wasn't actually an accurate description of what happened. In this case, eyewitness in the room with Adam Schiff, able to deliver to the FBI. The good news is that Kash Patel has gotten these documents to Congress. By the way, this is the first of several major leak investigations we're going to see over the next several days. You're going to see other major people that were clearly identified by the FBI as having leaked classified secrets. Their own staff turned them in when interviewed by the FBI. Nothing again happened. It's a common pattern. The question now is, in Donald Trump's Justice Department, does that dynamic change?
Now, the real question is this. And this is from Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who says, why has the GOP-led Senate not censured Adam Schiff and kicked him off committees for what he did? They have the authority to do it. Stop being so low energy, Senate GOP. This guy is a crook. Now he's been investigated for fraud. And now we have the documentation showing he leaked classified information. What more do you need? So now we move to our next update, and it's from the mayor of D.C. She held a press conference this morning, took questions. And during the course of this, she clearly has acknowledged that President Trump is doing what's in his legal authority to do. You can also tell that she's very measured in her response. She's not flying off the handle and getting overly emotional like you would normally see from Democrat leaders. And third, her police chief humiliates herself for some reason, which we'll show you later. But let's first hear from the mayor. Take a look.
Yes.
Mayor Bowser, you've had some time to think about it since yesterday. How do you sum up how this has played out, where you didn't know about this before it was announced?
What I'm focused on is the federal surge and how to make the most of the additional officer support that we have. We have the best in the business in MPD and Chief Pamela Smith to lead that effort and to make sure that the men and women who are coming from federal law enforcement are being well used, and that if there's National Guard here, that they're being well used, and all in an effort to drive down crime. So how we got here, or what we think about the circumstances right now, we have more police and we want to make sure we're using them.
Are you concerned about?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there and move on. But she seems like she's pretty level-headed. I don't understand why she's a Democrat, because that doesn't normally happen. Okay, this does come from Devory Darkins. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here and move on with Vince Dow. Gavin Newsom, this is going to talk about the redistricting of Texas and how, of course, Gavin Newsom melts down as Texas Democrats admit defeat while redistricting protests backfire. All right, well, let's click on this and see what Vince has to say.
And then every single time
when back up here for you. Here we go.
The Democrats always come back. It could be tomorrow, it could be next week, it could be next month. They're going to come back, or we'll be able to track them down one way or the other. They're coming back, and it's going to end with these maps being passed. And, you know, what I'm thinking now is if they don't start showing up, I may start expanding it. We may make it 6 or 7 or 8 new seats we're going to be adding on the Republican side.
All right, guys, welcome back. If you saw my appearance on Timcast last night, I hope you enjoyed it. Today, we got to bring you major breaking news out of the Texas redistricting effort, because to make a very, very long story short, it is now official. We won. The Democrats have backed down. They have caved. They have apparently now given up in their performative crybaby little stunt to flee the state of Texas in order to deny the necessary quorum to hold the vote. You know, they were claiming they were saving democracy by denying a Democratic vote from going forward. But apparently, according to them, because they were saying, right, we're risking and sacrificing everything. This is too important. Apparently, saving the world was not all that important after all, because after just a few days, here you see the pathetic, performative, and feckless Democrats getting back on the plane. We can debate the reasons for that. I think there's a few. Maybe they, after all, found out that what they were doing was indeed illegal, but there you have it. We'll get into that. But I also want to bring you, apparently, the brand new Democrat evil master plan to stop the Texas redistricting, because clearly the last one went so well, right? Well, the last little performative stunt just succeeded massively, but apparently Gavin Newsom here is stepping in. He's claiming he's going to be the one to do it now. You know, I so often used to compare the Democrats to the Looney Tunes villains. You know, think the Elmer Fudd or the Coyote or the Tasmanian Devil, right? Because they're always coming up with these very cartoonish and ridiculous plans to, oh, this will stop the Republicans. Oh, this is going to stop Donald Trump. And then every single time, what happens? The TNT in the cartoon blows up in their face, the anvil drops on their head, and then they're like, oh, but the next one, we're going to get them this time. Okay, good luck with that, Gavin. We'll bring you both of those stories in today's video. But again, major victory here, because we can expect now, within probably the next couple of days, maybe even the end of the week, indeed, the map will be official. Turns out there was nothing Democrats could have done all along. But hey, you know, you got a free vacation in Illinois at the expense of Governor J.B. Pritzker. I mean, that's definitely not shady. We'll tell you all about it. First, though, folks, do us a favor as usual. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Subscribing, guys, is not only the best way to support our videos, but it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And with that said, so as you can see today, according to reporting from Eric Daugherty, Texas House Democrats, who of course are derelict in their duty, you know, they were going on the quorum break vacation here, will now return to the Texas House for Greg Abbott's second special session to pass the new congressional map that adds 5 Republican House seats. So, you know, they were claiming they were going to hold out. Apparently not. And the reason why here, guys, listen to this. According to ABC 13, they themselves are admitting the entire plan to flee was always performative. Gee, you don't say. It was just theatrical. This is all the Democrats do. It's acting, right? And I quote, listen to this. Democrats believe they've accomplished their mission by killing the first special session and by raising national awareness about the mid-decade redistricting effort per ABC 13. That's all it was about. Right? Because now there's another special session. Guess what? It made no difference. But to raise a national awareness, basically, let's all, you know, it's a Jasmine Crockett phenomenon all over again. That's all these people do, right? Oh, let's get on the camera. Let's do our little MSNBC hits. Let's promote ourselves. And apparently, this is what politics is supposed to be about. But I have to say, maybe the very reason, I mean, I think there's several reasons, frankly, we'll break them down. But maybe perhaps one of the reasons the Democrats gave up in the end is because of the fact that, as I was pointing out, the longer this situation dragged on, the more they were going to begin to lose the argument, because you had Texas state legislators and conservatives, for instance, going on CNN and holding up pictures of the Illinois congressional map and saying, what are you guys talking about gerrymandering? Do you see how you guys play the game? So I don't know, maybe that's part of the reason they're like, look, you know, they're starting to call us out for this. Let's just go back and stop making this such a big issue. So there you essentially have it. And here is the picture, by the way, hilarious, of the Texas Democrats getting back on the plane, having accomplished so much. So why exactly, this is kind of an interesting debate, did the Democrats back down in the end? Well, one could argue part of it is because this whole thing was always performative, but it's also worth noting here that, first of all, Texas Governor Greg Abbott basically said that if you're going to shut down the first session, as we reported earlier, we're just going to do a second one, and a third one, and a fourth one, and basically Democrats will keep on doing this. You will not be able to escape the plan to have this map, right? So he put out here saying, Democrats can run to another state, but they can't outrun the will of Texans. If there's no quorum by Friday, special session number 2 will start immediately. Same agenda with potential to add more. So he essentially said here, right, if you're not going to approve this congressional map, then let's have an even more Republican gerrymandered map, and you'll just have to deal with it. Eventually, you're going to have to vote on something here, right? I'll call special after special until the Texas First agenda is passed. So, you know, there you have it. Basically, the Republicans here saying, we're not going to tolerate the behavior. Now, I have to say, I would still like to see the civil arrest warrants indeed acted upon, because what they did here was rather ridiculous. But there you have it. On one hand, at least, maybe the threat that we're going to have a more conservative map is the reason. That said, I really do have to hone in, though, on one particular incident that coincides with the Democrat decision to give up here. And that is the story of Beto O'Rourke, who has, remember that guy? Remember Beto? He's currently been right now, guys, in a legal battle with Attorney General Ken Paxton in the state of Texas for basically illegally fundraising on behalf of Democrat candidates, right? Because it's not the political season. He's not any type of political official or office holder, all this stuff. And even just recently, guys, after Attorney General Ken Paxton took him to court on this issue and won in court, you had Beto basically saying publicly, I don't care what the court says. I'm going to keep on breaking the law. I'm going to keep on pushing fundraising and screw you. And then we'll show you here what happened in response, because I think this is important to understand maybe why the Democrats realize, oh, shoot, the attorney general of out of a lot of Texas state politicians is pretty serious. He's pretty hard-nosed. He's not going to play these stupid games with you. And well, there you have it. So here's what Beto was saying that coincides with the Democrats magically coming back home. And I'm not saying there's a connection, but again, there's probably a litany of reasons why they, in the end, gave it up and decided to go back.
Listen, you may say to yourself, well, those aren't the rules. There are no refs in this game. Fuck the rules. We are going to win whatever it takes. And one of the worst things that we could do to Ken Paxton is to right now choose to donate to have the backs of these fighters by texting FIGHT to 20377. Text FIGHT to 20377. He is trying to stop us from raising the resources they need to ultimately prevail and come through, and we are not going to let him stop us. Are you with me on that? Andale. It also means, as Mark was saying earlier, we don't await the punch thrown.
Okay, well, nice to see that some things never change, because there you have Beto 7 years later still pretending to be Hispanic when he's not. Nonetheless, so there he was on camera stating openly he's going to break the rules, F the rules, and then directly promoting fundraising, political fundraising for Democrats, which again, Attorney General Ken Paxton has already taken him to court over and won. They've already ruled this is in violation of Texas state law, the way Beto keeps going around doing these rallies and promoting political fundraising when he's not a political figure anymore. So what has now happened in response? Because again, this clip is after that ruling already happened. You now have the announcement here by Ken Paxton, quote, I'm taking action to hold Robert Francis O'Rourke in contempt of court, right? This would put him in jail essentially for violating a court order and scamming Texans promoting basically fake political fundraising. Beto is about to find out that running your mouth and ignoring the rule of law, which Beto is apparently saying is okay, and he's encouraging everyone to do so, as you heard in the clip there, has consequences in Texas. It is time to lock him up. Here is the press statement on it. AG Ken Paxton filed a motion for contempt against Beto after he blatantly violated a Tarrant County temporary restraining order by continuing to fundraise and pay for the personal expenses of the runaway Democrat legislators who are currently, of course, breaking state law themselves. Less than 24 hours after the temporary restraining order was signed, Robert Francis told a crowd of hundreds in Fort Worth that if he would continue, that he would continue, I should say, fundraising in violation of the restraining order because, quote, there are no refs in this game, F the rules. Well, apparently Robert is finding out that nobody is above the law, and indeed this is a game with rules. This is the United States. There's such a thing as the rule of law. I know that's a shocker because, maybe in the nations where he's pretending to be from and he's promoting millions of migrants to come from, that's not necessarily the case. You can just openly bribe officials. But anyways, nonetheless, Robert Francis is wrong on both counts. There is a referee, the Honorable Megan Fahey, and there are rules, namely that a person violating a temporary restraining order can be fined up to $500 and jailed for up to 6 months. Given Robert Francis's vulgar disdain for the rule of law and immense personal wealth, imprisonment is absolutely necessary to persuade him to obey the lawful restraining order issued by the Tarrant County Court. And of course, Democrats literally asked for this, right? Beto told me to, quote, come and take it. So I did it, and I beat him in court, which Ken Paxton, of course, did. Now he still thinks he's above the law, so I'm working to put him behind bars, said AG Paxton. Robert Francis flagrantly and knowingly violated the court order that I secured that prevents him from raising funds and distributing any more Beto bribes. He's about to find out running your mouth and ignoring the law has consequences in Texas. So, guys, there.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. But, don't we hear all the time? No one's above the law. No one, except for Democrats, of course. I keep forgetting. Democrats. There are no rules. There are no referees. The laws don't mean anything to them. Even on the streets of Washington, D.C. Okay, this is totally amazing how this turns out. I don't understand how these Democrats can just continue on. Let me scroll down here and show you that this video does come from Vince Dow. I've given him a thumbs up. I am subscribed to his channel. I hope you do the same thing for me. Now I want to have a quick note here from Chuck Norris.
Hey you, there's this video. It's from Chuck Norris. It was insane. He's in his 80s and says he still feels like he's in his 50s.
It was pretty shocking. He had some pretty cool tips in there too on what he's doing,
including these 3 foods that he avoids like the plague.
He explained all the things he was doing, and it was super simple. They're so easy, and you can do them right at home.
When I first saw this, I knew I had to share this with you all.
Since what happened to Chuck could also happen for you too. But with any new method, of course, your results can vary. But the video is definitely worth checking out. Watch his method now by clicking the link in chat or scanning the QR code on your screen. You won't believe how simple it is.
All right, let's get back here. Thank you for watching that. Okay, I do want to share some additional information here for you, give you a bonus. I mean, these videos that I have shared with you do come directly from the producers that created them. I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out, but I do like to put this together for you to save you some steps, save you some time, where you can get a lowdown of what's going on, so that you don't have to rely on the lying legacy Mockingbird media for your information. But I do want to come back over here to Murtech.com and slide down here to SGT Report. He had some good information on here, all right, from Dr. Peter McCullough. Okay, now, if you follow me anytime at all, you know that I think Dr. Peter McCullough is one of the premier physicians that has warned us about COVID-19 and the jab. So let's go ahead and take a listen to here and see what Dr. Peter McCullough and SGT have to say.
Hey friends, welcome back. Thank you so very, very much for tuning in. It's Sean from SGT Report. I am absolutely thrilled to have back on the line somebody who I consider a health space hero, cardiologist and internist known for his significant contributions in the field of cardiovascular medicine. He's published his medical degrees. Guys, I could go on and on about this man's pedigree, but what I wanted to do is share the fact that he's much maligned, like so many truth tellers in the space. Wikipedia says, Dr. Peter Andrew McCullough is an American former cardiologist. He was vice chief of internal medicine at Baylor University and a professor at Texas A&M. From the beginnings of the COVID-19 pandemic, McCullough has promoted misinformation and conspiracy theories about COVID-19 and its treatment and mRNA vaccines. Well, boy, let's dig into that one. Dr. McCullough, welcome back.
Well, thanks so much. But, I'm not retired. That shows you how wrong it is. I'm not a former cardiologist. I'm in practice today, internal medicine, cardiology, saw patients before I came on the show, Sean. You can see who's promoting false information. Wikipedia.
Well, that's 1,000% correct. I should have read the second paragraph. And here's how they just malign everybody who dared to stand up to officialdom once the pandemic rolled out. They write, in October 2022, the American Board of Internal Medicine recommended that McCullough's board certifications be revoked due to his promotion of misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines. And by January 2025, the ABIM had revoked both of his certifications. Ladies and gentlemen, targeting truth tellers, that is what they do. This from Rod D. Martin over on X. Japan releases bombshell COVID vax data on 18 million people. A top Tokyo professor just dropped what might be the most important COVID data release in the world. And it's terrifying. The more doses you got, the sooner you died. I think Wikipedia and the powers that ought not be really had a problem with Dr. McCullough because of statements like this one to Congress.
And do you have any science to back up your opinion?
The best data are autopsies. So in the largest autopsy series published to date, I know because I'm the senior author, of all the deaths we examined, and we re-reviewed them. We had an adjudication committee. We had ways of arbitration deciding on did the vaccine cause death. The answer is, of these cases that came in for autopsy after vaccination, 73.9% of individuals, it was determined that the vaccine was the cause of death. First author is Hosher and colleagues, who's sitting right behind me.
Maybe that's why Wikipedia and the powers that ought not be don't care much for Dr. Peter McCullough, who, by the way, is the chief scientific officer over at twc.health. Dr. McCullough, would you like to retract anything you just said there, what you told Congress?
And, I'm fully board certified by the National Association of Physician and Surgeons, National Board. I resigned from the American Board of Internal Medicine. American Board of Internal Medicine never sent me a legal letter that I've had my certifications revoked. You can see what's going on. Wikipedia, up until the summer of 2021, my Wikipedia biography was scintillating. I was the most published person in my field in the world in history, made major contributions to medicine, no blemishes. And then, by summer of 2021, it was clear that the vaccines were causing great harm. I spoke out, and then everything changed in Wikipedia, which you can't edit your own Wikipedia account. Wikipedia is essentially defamation. And what the courts say is that if you're a public figure, which I am, there is no such thing as defamation. You just have to take it.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me. I won't bore you with the details, but there was a hit piece done about me and many others on October 15th, 2020, and that hit piece was done by Media Matters for America, backed by George Soros. The result of that hit piece on October 15th, 2020 was the same day I lost my YouTube channel. A week later, another hit piece from Media Matters for America, and I lost my Patreon account. Then I lost PayPal, then I lost Vimeo, then I lost MailChimp. It just goes on and on, Peter. All they do is target truth tellers. It seems to be the powerhouse of their wheelhouse. That's what they specialize in.
I never thought it could happen, but if you go against a global narrative, in my first book, Courage to Face COVID-19, we call it the biopharmaceutical complex of non-governmental organizations, government regulatory agencies, intelligence agencies, big pharma, big vaccine, big food for that matter. This consortium is dealing with trillions of dollars. And if they find somebody who is a public figure like you or me going against their narrative, they literally have the power to shut you off, debank you, defund you, do everything they can to professionally injure the little guy. But yet it's you and me who are bringing the world the truth.
Yeah. And doctors like Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, right? She was hauled in front of the medical board in the state of Ohio. And I think they did revoke her license for at least some period of time. And how many other nurses and doctor whistleblowers have there been who paid a heavy price for standing up? So let's just begin at the beginning. The media and big pharma advertising continue to claim the COVID vax is safe and effective. And I'm going to play one spot for you in the audience here in just a few minutes from Moderna. But here's my question. Has there ever been a prospective, randomized, double-blind placebo-controlled trial which shows the COVID-19 quote-unquote vaccines reduce mortality or hospitalization?
Not a single large randomized trial with mortality as an outcome, adjudicated COVID mortality. Not a single valid non-randomized study. In fact, there now are a dozen studies showing the vaccines backfire and they increase mortality.
And they increase mortality. How about that Rod D. Martin post that I just shared about the Japanese research folks? The more vaccines you take, the more deader you get. Well, how about this? Let me play this. This spot is probably just a bit old at this point. I remember seeing it live on my television at my house about a year ago. The new product from Moderna, SpikeVax. Listen to this.
When it comes to your health, you do you. You ping and pong that body. You practice and practice that body. You make it rain that body. You flu shot that body. And now you Spikevax that body. Because even though the pandemic is over, COVID-19 isn't. Spikevax by Moderna is a vaccine to help protect you against COVID-19. You shouldn't get Spikevax if you've had an allergic reaction to Spikevax or its ingredients. Rare cases of inflammation of the heart muscle and outer lining have been reported. The most common side effects are injection site pain, redness and swelling, tiredness, headache, muscle pain, chills, joint pain, and fever. Make vaccination against COVID-19 a part of your health routine. Spikevax that body with Spikevax by Moderna.
God. Spikevax that body, friends. I've got a thing or two to say about that. What do you have to say, Dr. McCullough?
Spikevax is Moderna synthetic messenger RNA. And that commercial implies that it's good for the human body. Spikevax that body. I can tell you, it's far from natural to keep taking serial injections of fully synthetic messenger RNA coding for the dangerous part of the virus called the spike protein. That's the spine on the surface of the virus. That spike protein was engineered in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Can you imagine how bizarre this is, that there's a commercial to take repeated injections of the genetic code for a protein devised in a Chinese biosecurity lab? That protein is known to cause heart damage, stroke, blood clots, immunologic problems, potentially even contribute to cancer. It's as if we're living in a science fiction movie. And to this day, no government in the world has issued a safety review, has inspected the vials, and no country has even considered pulling these off the market, despite COVID essentially being over years ago.
Can I ask you about something else then regarding Spikevax? What a strange marketing choice to make to name the product that. It's almost as though they're laughing at us right out in the open. Spikevax. Now, to the normies, they don't know what that means. But for you and me and my audience, we know very well that the spike protein is the problem with this technology. And they name it Spikevax? It's just a little too on the nose, isn't it?
It's on the nose. It's almost as if someone is shooting a spear in the body. And now our research, in collaboration with a German lab, has found in my patients circulating spike protein, this dangerous and lethal protein in the human bloodstream 3.2 years after the last shot. Can you imagine that man in that commercial getting in the bathtub? He's taking shots. He took them initially every 6 months. Now he's taking them every year. His body will never catch up with getting rid of the spike protein.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. And okay, I'm just like 12 minutes into this 44-minute video. So it's jam-packed full of information like that. I invite you to go to Murtech.com or go to SGT Report and listen to this video. I'm going to click on the video, and as you can see here, this does come from SGT Report. Here we go. This video does come from SGT Report. I'm following the channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, folks, and let's go ahead and get back here. Yeah, back here. All right, and close this out. And if you look in the description box down here in the bottom, Dr. Peter McCullough, MD, MPH, the wellness company. I have a link. And this is just a straight link. I mean, I don't get any commissions or royalties for this either. I don't have, a code to give you for 10% off, but I'm sure you can find one. If you click on that link there, it will take you to the wellness clinic, Dr. Peter McCullough's site and it provides information on wellness. Come down here. These are the people that are involved. They used to have a group picture with, there it is right there. Dr. Peter McCullough, the guy you just heard on SGT Report. Okay? So again, I'm not really promoting, but I'm letting people know about this information. Also, same thing with Dr. Pierre Kory. He's in this. He and Dr. Peter McCullough are both great physicians that are trying to save lives. They've even developed methods and processes for people that have had the COVID shot and are experiencing some problems that can possibly cause relief this. My Free Doctor, banned methods used to treat 150,000 COVID patients. Banned methods used to treat 150,000 COVID patients by Doctors Organization had only 4 deaths out of 150,000 COVID patients. I don't think the hospitals could actually show those results. The hospitals that they went into if you had COVID. I think most of the people didn't fare so well. But again, folks, this information I try to put together so that you can possibly share this with others so that people can maybe open their eyes a little bit and say, what's going on? What's going on around here? All right, let's jump back to Mertech.com. Daily news update. Folks, I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos here. This is your one-stop shop for information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. Now, I don't have time to share all of this with you in my 1-hour podcast, but I will have my daily news update about 9:30 this evening that has information that has been released all day long, so you'll get up-to-date information. Again, no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. All right? So go ahead and take a break, grab a cup of coffee and a donut, or a soft drink and a sandwich, or a beer, whatever, and meet me back here at 9:30, and we'll kick the daily news wrap-up off at that time. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for your time. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.